The quiet desk at the back of the class. The desk at the back of the classroom was always empty until Oriv took it. Not because no one wanted it, but because no one noticed it. The back row was where attention went to disappear. It was where students sat when they did not want to be called on, when they did not believe they had anything worth saying. Oriv did not choose that desk on purpose. It was simply the only one left on his first day. He was an average student by every visible measure. Not the top scorer. Not the class clown. Not the athlete. Not the favorite. Teachers remembered his face but not his name. When results were announced, his name sat quietly in the middle, never high enough to be praised, never low enough to be warned. At first, Oriv told himself this was fine. But deep down, it hurt. Every morning, he watched others raise their hands with confidence. He watched names being repeated, praised, celebrated. He watched classmates talk about dreams with certainty, about becoming engineers, doctors, entrepreneurs, leaders. When people asked Oriv about his future, he smiled and said, "I am still thinking." What he did not say was that he was afraid to think too hard about it. Because what if there was nothing special there? One afternoon, after another disappointing test score, Oriv sat alone in the library. His paper lay open in front of him. Red marks circled answers he thought were right. A quiet voice inside him whispered, "Maybe this is your limit." That voice felt convincing. As he packed his bag, an old man approached the table. He was the school librarian, someone Oriv had seen hundreds of times but never spoken to. "You look like someone carrying more than books," the librarian said calmly. Oriv forced a smile. "Just exams." The librarian nodded and picked up a book from the shelf beside them. "You know," he said, "most people think the loudest students are the strongest ones. That is rarely true." Oriv looked up, curious despite himself. "The quiet ones," the man continued, "they are usually building something inside. It just takes longer to see." Oriv did not know why, but those words stayed with him. That night, instead of scrolling on his phone, he opened his notebook and wrote one sentence at the top of a blank page. "I may not be the best yet, but I will not stay the same." It was not a powerful declaration. It was not dramatic. But it felt honest. From the next day, Oriv made a small decision. Not a big promise. Just one small change. He would study 1 extra hour, every day, no matter what. Not to beat anyone else. Not to impress teachers. Just to improve a little more than yesterday. The first week was hard. His mind wandered. His phone tempted him. The voice of doubt returned, telling him it was pointless. But he stayed. The second week, something strange happened. Concepts that once felt confusing began to make sense. Not all of them. Not instantly. But enough to notice. The third week, Oriv raised his hand in class for the first time. His voice shook. His answer was not perfect. But it was correct. The teacher nodded. "Good point," she said, and moved on. No applause. No celebration. But Oriv felt something shift. He realized that progress rarely announces itself loudly. It whispers. Months passed. While others studied only before exams, Oriv kept his quiet routine. While others compared scores, he compared effort. When he failed, he adjusted. When he succeeded, he stayed disciplined. There were days he wanted to quit. Days when friends laughed at his seriousness. Days when results still did not reflect his effort. But he remembered the sentence in his notebook. "I will not stay the same. At the end of the year, results were announced. Oriv did not top the class, but he had moved far beyond where he started. Teachers noticed. Not because of one exam, but because of consistency. His questions were sharper. His answers clearer. His confidence steadier. One teacher called him aside after class. "You have changed," she said. "What happened?" Oriv thought for a moment. "I stopped waiting to feel confident before working," he said. "I worked until confidence followed." Years later, Oriv stood outside an examination hall that once terrified him. This time, his hands were steady. Around him, students paced nervously, whispering formulas, doubting themselves. Oriv closed his eyes and remembered the desk at the back of the class. The empty feeling. The doubt. The quiet librarian. He smiled. Not because he was fearless, but because he had learned something important. Success is not built by talent alone. It is built by showing up on days when motivation is gone. By choosing effort when no one is watching. By believing in growth even when evidence is small. When Oriv walked into the hall, he was no longer invisible. Not because the world had changed, but because he had. And the truth every student needs to hear is this: you do not need to be the smartest person in the room. You do not need to be confident from the start. You do not need instant results. You need consistency. You need patience. You need the courage to keep going quietly. The desk at the back of the class is not a dead end. Sometimes, it is where the strongest stories begin.